You guys can currently see the screen there, Patrick.
Yes.
Welcome to everyone who's joining the call there. We're going to give it a few more minutes, as Yannicka notes there, just to let more people get online, and then we'll get going with the panel. So good to have you here, and we'll talk soon. Feels like we should almost have some background music playing as we wait for people to enter there. Doesn't that sound good, guys? Anybody come with music?
I did that a while back using my Bluetooth speaker and had some tafel music on, or tafel music, but I'm not sure exactly how that sounded, but should have thought about that today. Next time.
There's probably some ITS specific music, no?
Yeah. Yeah.
We're just going to give it just a few more moments to allow people to get in. Obviously, these days we're often not having to run from one meeting to another. We just switch screens, but that means things get quite packed. So, appreciate you all joining us today for this, I think, really important conversation. It's great to have these various individuals here with me today.
Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Janneke and I'm the Managing Director of ITS Canada. And on behalf of the Secretariat and the Board of Directors, we welcome all of you. ITS Canada, we are the hub for mobility technologies. Mobility technologies enable the safe, efficient and reliable movement of goods and people. The hub is the place where the needs of the Canadian transportation system connect with the ideas, technologies, and capabilities of our members. ITS Canada is the hub where challenges meet solutions. Diversity, inclusion, and equality for all are ingrained in the DNA of ITS Canada. Together, we promote, encourage, and create a culture which supports and celebrates diverse voices of our members. We embrace our differences in race, ethnicity, gender, and sexual orientation. When we say we are the hub for mobility technologies, we mean the hub for everyone. We support mobility technologies through championing the benefits, fostering and promoting innovation, integrating the expertise, products, and services of our members, enabling communication for learning and collaboration. To learn more about ITS Canada's recently published strategic plan, please visit the ITS Canada website. And so with no further ado, may I introduce you today's moderator, Jonathan Foord, Chair of ITS Canada's ATMS Technical Committee. Jonathan.
Great. Well, good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on what area of Canada you're currently situated in. Welcome to ITS Canada's virtual panel. As Janneke said, my name is Jonathan, and I'm with KPMG's Global Infrastructure Advisory Team here in Canada, where I get to work and have the opportunity to help cities and organizations better use connectivity, technology, and data, along with other organization enabling work that ultimately enable us to make better decisions, which improve service delivery and the lives of the people around us. And a key area where that is happening is in transportation. So as Janneke said, I'm privileged to be the chair of the ATMS Technical Committee, the Advanced Traffic Management Systems Technical Committee, along with my City of Calgary colleague, Sameer Patil, who you can see sitting in the boardroom there, and who you'll hear about more shortly. So let's keep on moving into it. Get my slide here to move forward. So today's webinar is brought to you by the Advanced Traffic Management Systems Technical Committee. However, just for your own interest, there are another 5 in total there that you can participate in. Lots of good activity going on in those areas, and always open for more people to participate. And the Advanced Traffic Management System, our technical committee, has been created to share best practices and technical information, promote the deployment of intelligent transportation systems, encourage those open interfaces and standards, and explore innovative systems and deployments to increase the efficiency and improve productivity of traffic and all those things related to it. And so if you want to become a member and participate with us, committee members have an opportunity to be actively involved in priority setting and steering of ITS's Canada's activities within this area. So transportation management providers, private sector representatives interested in learning more about or sharing information on related technologies and industry trends, or playing a role in related policy advocacy, you're encouraged to contact Janneke or one of the committee chairs, so myself or Sameer, if you'd like to find out more information. And you can see the ITS Canada website in the bottom screen. All right. So in terms of the format of today's session, after introducing our awesome speakers that we have on today, each one will have some time to provide some context and some initial insights on this topic of traffic management and COVID during these timeframes. And then we'll go into some more formal panel questions. And then should questions come to mind, feel free to submit questions throughout the presentation using the question panel or the chat window. And we'll look to answer those as many as we can in the open Q&A. So without any further commentary for myself, let's introduce our panelists. You can see them on the screen here. So Patrick Ricci is an engineer who completed his studies in automated production management back in 2003 and is currently in the process of obtaining his MBA. So keep him busy on all sides of the, saying that they can't see my screen here. Sorry, just give me one sec. Can you now see my screen?
Yeah, yes.
Apologies for that. So just to head back just a slide or two, if you need to get a hold of us, you need to talk to Yannicka, see our information, please feel free to do that right there. And there's the agenda. All right, Patrick. So currently working on getting his MBA, but he had experience, in manufacturing companies such as Bombardier Aerospace, Novabus, and Alstom Transport, and that's where he required a lot of his experience in the field of transportation and integrating ITS technologies together. Patrick has a lot of good expertise, both technically and in project management, and has volunteered in sharing that with younger generations in terms of the Junior Achievement Program, where they're building businesses and companies themselves, which was that student was nominated as Company of the Year. So great stuff. He joined the division of the operations and arterial network of the City of Montreal with the mandate to integrate an advanced traffic management system. And he subsequently took on the main responsibility for the development and implementation of the Urban Mobility Management Center, the CGMU. Obviously, the acronyms don't align because it's obviously en français, but my daughters would probably correct me a lot if I actually tried to speak in French. So I'll save you that trouble with the City of Montreal. And it's been since 2016 that Patrick has taken on the role of team leader for the CGMU operations. And this includes a traffic management center, lighting management, traffic camera monitoring, counting and detection technologies, as well as digital street signage system. CGMU is also the emergency response center for essential infrastructure such as the arterial network, bridges and tunnels, as well as the Montreal Electrical Commission. So lots going on, lots of excitement in that world. So great to have you, Patrick. Looking forward to your conversation and the input that you have. I'll just move on to Sameer here and through to Karamjeet, and then we'll pass it over to Patrick. So Sameer has a master's degree in transportation engineering from the Illinois Institute of Technology in Chicago. He has over 20 years of experience in transportation engineering, including ITS, signal coordination and optimization, traffic incident and emergency management. So he's been working and doing a lot of good work and has designed and implemented various ITS systems. And currently he leads the Regional Traffic Management Center, the RTMC, with Alberta Transportation. He's been with the City of Calgary for 14 years. And for the last 9 years, he's been working as the leader of Traffic Management Center for the City of Calgary. So Sameer, wonderful to have you. Great to have your knowledge and expertise and insights today. And finally, but not least, we have Karamjeet. Karamjeet graduated from Punjab Technical University with a Bachelor of Technology in Civil Engineering back in 2002. And then in 2004, he finished his master's degree in transportation engineering and then came to Canada in 2006, began working for the Ministry of British Columbia in 2008 as a traffic technician. And through a lot of hard work and dedicated effort, he's moved from being an EIT, engineer in training in 2009, all the way up to obtaining his PEng in 2012, and now works as the traffic operations engineer at that time in Coquitlam, but is now, from the last little while, moved on to become the manager of traffic operations and engineering for the BC Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure. And so he's a representative on large projects such as the Port Mann Highway #1 project, South Fraser Perimeter Road projects, Highway 17 and 91 interchanges, and many other items. So lots of wealth of experience here over the past little while, and I'm, looking forward to this conversation with each of you. Hopefully there's a lot of good information to share with yourselves on what's currently happening within the traffic management world due to COVID. The things that they've experienced, the things that have been challenging, the opportunities they see moving forward. And, maybe at the end, we'll get an opportunity to find out how we as a community can best support these leaders, as well as leaders on the phone that are dealing with traffic management as we move forward. So without any ado, let's get over to Patrick. So I'm just gonna share my other screen here. All right.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you for the introduction. First, I would like to thank ITS Canada and the committee for inviting me. So I will start to present the City of Montreal ATMS perspective of the impact of the COVID-19 in everyday mobility. Next. So if we put ourselves back in the context, in the province of Quebec, and March 13, the province went to the state health emergency, and after the war, and 2 weeks later, the city of Montreal itself went to the state emergency. So it's been a while where everyone was confined in their house. A lot of stores and mobility was impacted and reduced. And on May 22nd, they started to restart opening and gradually reopen the services, the shops, and the outside access. For next, sorry. For the ATMS perspective, the TMC, on the March 13, we had, there was one situation where everyone had to, stay home, go back home, and except for the essential services. But from the TMC situation, all the installation was shared between the operators, so it was hard to keep the distance, and it was also risky for themselves. So we also decided to put everyone back to their home and do telecommuting for the people to work from home. So in 24 hours, we were able to install everyone to their home, and after 48 hours, everyone was ready, up, running, and all our services were fully operational. So I would say that with the help, because the operators were also helped a lot, and they shared their own equipment to be able to deploy very fast the activities. And the only information, the only tools we could not transfer outside was for sure the video wall, and also the radio systems, which it's a physical, it's cannot be places elsewhere. Other changes we had to adapt ourselves is everything about the remote tools. So we were able to exploit all the cloud-based tools that were available at the City of Montreal, and to keep the contact between the operators, since they're sitting next to each other, we actually created a virtual room where the people just connected, and they could speak like they were next to each other. And for different update, we need to do some correction on the process. It's just a minor details, but just closing the workstation and share it to someone else. We just have to make sure that people, they just don't shut down the computer, since nobody will be there to put it back on. So it's minor details, but we had to check that. And for managing perspective, for sure, we have to rethink all the presence, the engagement, and also taking care of the people from their home. So either physically or mentally, make sure everyone is still okay, because they still live with the pandemic situation more than just work. So next. So everything has been deployed. We're ready to run at that moment. So from the outside view for the, or the management for the traffic mobility, the first issue we had to face is that in May, people started to go outside, and there were a lot more people going outside because they just stopped using the vehicle. So the sidewalk wasn't large enough to keep the 2 meters distancing required by the government. So we've quickly installed some sanitary corridors to enlarge the sidewalks, and it was managed basically by the boroughs, the 19 boroughs of the city of Montreal. But there were more and more people going outside, so we had to also manage some activities to increase or restore. I could say the next slide if you want to, Jonathan, to give back the streets and reactivate, or per se, the economic perspective for the stores and all the activity in the city. So we did some major readjustment to still keep it nice, and have the people to enjoy being outside and keeping the safe distance. But more and more people are starting to go outside, and they were going to the park. So another issue came up is having how we can manage the people not going, still keep the distance in the parks. So we came to another solution. Jonathan can go to next slide. Is basically the active and safe lane park, because since the park wasn't enough, we added some extra lane streets. We call it the VAS, which is in French for active and safe lines, and we added like 21 kilometers of bike lining and a lot more space for people to be able to walk in the streets and have enough space. Next. So you can see there were a lot of management. So around June 8th, all of the deployment was done. It was a huge effort for the city, because just to design and put those streets to start the project, normally it would have taken a lot of months to have everything ready and have the go to start. So we did it actually in 11 days to start doing the deploy. So which this was a record for the city. And basically, like I said, there was like 21 kilometers, and there were like a lot of maybe 5 axes that were put on the streets. And right now in October, though, since the winter is coming, well, not for the snow plowing and everything, so we have to remove most of them. So we did the demobilization in around 3 weeks. For the next slide, for the TMC's perspective, what we do to help to do the management of those deployments and surveillance. So we help at the beginning to do some surveys on the street to see where the people goes and see where's the interest of the people who want to walk. So we help to do the surveys first and do some counting and be able to identify the direction of the people. During the deployment, we were also in help for the contractor surveillance, because there were a lot of contractors outside, but we still have to manage the mobility. So we want to make sure that the deployment was still safe and in respect of the mobility. And after, when everything was on the street, we also tried to understand how the behavior of the citizens were going with those streets, if they were reacting correctly, what we intended to do. And for analytic at the end, we use all the different ITS tools to be able to count and analyze and get information. So if you go to the next slide, there's some data we managed to figure out of it. So if you see there, you see that the green line are actually the extra corridors we added to for the bike lane. So we see that there was a lot of usage and very interesting information we got. In the next slide, we compare also the weekly and the weekend. So we see that there's a good increase in usage on every lanes, specifically in Barrie, Ontario. So it's just on 3 of them, but you see there's a big increase. And for the pedestrian, on the next slide, we saw on all the access for the managed for them that there were a lot of weekly duties for the pedestrian. So could see the next slide. So at the end, what we learned from it is that, you know, to be able to deploy and exploit and be able to adapt ourselves with the big change on the territorial network on the City of Montreal, communication and coordination was, you know, a big factor that we still need to work on it, because it's the core, you know, if you want to make it a success. What we already, you know, I could say we're proud and happy of it is that collaboration and the technical adjustments from different stakeholders were very reactive and good for the situation. And I would say maybe also that all the planning and urban planning, they were really agile for deploying those projects. Oh, I think the slide just changed. Oh, and finally, I would say that in long term, if we after that pandemic, what we could look in the future is for sure all the telecom meeting. We need to look at more of a permanent perspective now that the cities knows that it's feasible, not just an emergency side, but an operation normal side also. And we need to rethink how we go on, so, you know, how we can manage the training and the caretaking of the people. This is going to be something we need to think about. And for the management center perspective, there is some reflection we have to do on, you know, having a physical installation versus using a virtual installation, which is what we are right now, and we see this work. So, you know, we need maybe rethink and reconsider the strategy on that side. And for sure, for a long time, everyone was thinking that centralized services for all the stakeholders would be a solution, but we also proved that decentralized services, if you're rightly connected, it's also really feasible, and maybe even better if for the future, if we have no other situation like this one. And for sure, there will be a revolution of the operation practices, that's for sure. So that's pretty much for me. Thank you very much. You're mute, Jonathan, I think.
Great, Sameer, I'll pass you over the controls there and get you up on.
Hope everybody can see my screen here.
Looks great.
Okay, perfect. So thanks, Jonathan, and thanks, I guess, Canada, to give us an opportunity to be a part of this panel discussion, to share our experience with COVID-19 and ATMS point of view. Put together a few slides, won't be a lot, just to give us, you know, see what our, you know, impact on those things. Just before we start, I just thought maybe give you guys just a high-level overview of jurisdiction point of view or responsibility point of view. City of Calgary, it's a little different than Toronto and Vancouver. We don't have any adjacent municipality, or, you know, which is in a good way. So from traffic management point of view, as you know, less because it's a one entity. But only one thing is we have is we share jurisdiction with Alberta Transportation. Our ring road you see is getting finished right now, which is owned by Alberta Transportation, and the Deerfoot Trail, which passes the middle of the Calgary, the one it shows on the green here. So that is the only one is by province actually. The rest of the all traffic management is done from City of Calgary. We are roughly 1.3 million population, as you might know. Traffic signal wise, we are close to 1,100 traffic signal. We have 24/7 TMC, Traffic Management Center. I wrote about our TMC. It's a great partnership we are having last 12 years with Alberta Transportation. What it does is we manage all the incident management or provide TMC services to Alberta Transportation. It's a great synergy. So they don't have to have their own TMC in Calgary or within province. So that's the whole idea. So it's working great, actually. So we'll talk sometime later more about that. But just want to give you an overview of what we are kind of responsible and those things. When COVID-19 hit, like first in March, end of or mid-March, and we can say we were the biggest thing was, as you can imagine, as Patrick was saying, at the operation center, mostly sharing desk or shift after another can be sharing desk can be a huge concern. Also, one of the things we found out, we had hired few staff and training, remote training, that can be something was new actually. Usually had been done in one-on-one, and some of these systems people may not used it outside these TMCs unless they work in TMC side of environment and those things. Also, remote working and technology point of view. So it took us a few days, 2-3 days, to make sure a few staff who are working remotely, everything is working fine from they're able to access the systems and able to communicate with other groups and those things. But the good thing on the other side, you'll see on the top, that's where our temporary TMC was there. You might have heard that Calgary's been working on our new TMC for last 3 years, which came really handy during this time, and which kind of forced us to move into quickly. So what we did was, one of the things as a strategy from COVID impact to minimize on the staff, finding that social distancing and those things, we've been running 40-40-20, which means is we're still running our temporary TMC. We are using our new TMC, and we are 20% staff is working remotely. So realizing this in the whole COVID-19 scenario, our situation might last longer than we expected. Luckily, so far, we never had any case within our group or on the floor, so we don't have to go into quarantine. And so in that way, we were lucky. But this did help minimize the impact, I would say. Another thing, we always, as a TMC, we always work closely with our CEMA, which is Calgary Emergency Management Agency, during any emergencies. And this was not a different than that one. So we had all the procedures ready, but then you can imagine most of the roads were deserted at the beginning for sure. There's some of the DMS signs. We also have this 107.9 FM radio. It's a low frequency radio, which is Calgary has a very unique. So we've been using those outlets to get information out to the public. At the beginning, you can see on the right hand side, which is we don't do that right anymore, but at the beginning, getting those information out was very important, from making sure everybody getting those information. A few another things what we did from most of our downtown is it doesn't need a push button, it's a pre-time, but outside downtown, but where majority of the pedestrian corridors, where what we did was we put on recall mode close to 50-60 intersections, but also we had to put this sign you can see on the left hand side, some of those things, so people should not use the push button. On the right hand side, you'll see as most of the roads were not utilized much, and from social distancing point of view, sidewalks and pathways were not enough. So multiple roads were converted into pedestrian and bikeway only roads, and it did help a lot. Also, we did give temporary outdoor patio permits to a lot of businesses on last minute, or you can say expedited way, to get the businesses recover some of the money they have lost in those things. Going back to the some of the trends, it did impact hugely of course, the traffic as well as different modes. And you can say, so what we started, our transportation data had created various mobility trends throughout Calgary, understanding how it is impacting and those things. So some of the examples here, you'll see this is the report. This was generated every month, so we could see the trends or month over month. This you can see in March end or March 30th, some of the Glenmore Trail, which is one of the biggest arterial in Calgary, was running 45% of the traffic volume wise, and then it increased in September end. We were up to 97%. Then again, as the COVID cases or numbers increase, and you can see people kind of gradually reducing their trips. So again, you could see the reduction in the volume again. But again, it goes by each quarter. One on the right-hand side of the McKnight, which is highly used, which is we are back to 92%. On the left-hand side, you can see some of the speeds, how it is impacting on these corridors, and you could see nicely that March 30th, where the red line is there, there's hardly any, I would say, the speed-wise, there's hardly any delays actually. So if that's kind of the ideal situation, you can say that, right? We also created a bunch of trends, understanding how our usage on transit. Of course, you can see we are not anywhere close the usage we had in the beginning of the March. So we are, I would say, above 50% on the transit and sea train and bus usage. Again, people might have changed modes also. You can imagine that from sort of using transit, maybe they feel comfortable more using their card, have those kind of modal change may have happened over the time. But we are coming back, I would say, usage wise. We also had seen similar things from active modes, but it was exactly the opposite compared to how it was for the vehicles. You can say during summertime they peaked, and whereas they are again kind of trending down, as you can say, from a pedestrian as well as bicycle point of view, and those things as we are rolling into the winter. I have another slide for this talks about our parking in downtown and nearby areas. So you can see on the left in the middle chart, which is surface lot parking, which is utilized 56% only, and the street parking, which is 76%. But on the right-hand side, that's graph is pretty interesting to show that how the overall trend is actually looking from compared to 2019 to 2020. You could see, like, I would say around May, June time, they were utilized 9%. So these are all revenue. Actually, you can imagine usage as well as, because again, cities are these revenue streams are really important for our budgets and those things. So definitely, that's all I have for as a presentation point. Definitely, there'll be more items will be discussed shortly.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much, Sameer. And now I'll just pass it over here to myself just to bring up the screen there for Karamjeet. So Karamjeet.
Hello, hi. Thank you very much, Jonathan and ITS Canada, giving me this opportunity to present the impact of BC highways. Next, please. So BC Ministry of Transportation. The Ministry of Transportation plans transportation network, provide transportation services and infrastructure, develop and implement transportation policies and administrative many related acts, regulation, and federal provincial funding program. The ministry strive to build and maintain a safe and reliable transportation system and provide affordable, efficient, and accessible transportation options for all British Columbians. Next, please. So as you see the map of BC, and then we have very diverse population, like living in like a northern region, southern interior region, lower mainland district, and Vancouver Island district. Lower mainland district cover the south west corner of BC and has over 50% population, provincial population. Next, please. So key COVID-19 dates in BC. March 11, WHO declared COVID as a pandemic. March 18th, BC declared state of emergency. March 21st, Canada-US border restriction to essential travel only and personal service business shutdown that include gym, barbershop, and a restaurant for takeout only. May 19th, reopen begins and phase 2 of the pandemic response begins. June 24th, phase 3 of pandemic reopen begins in BC. October 19th, BC official announced second wave of COVID-19. Next, please. So when like in mid-March, when BC declared a state of emergency, and then our response for this, we start updating all our DMS signs to show the COVID messaging. Message was most like throughout the province on provincial highway, we were displaying COVID stay home, avoid gathering, essential travel only. And then also our maintenance contractor, they offered us CMS signs, so we use the messaging on those portable DMS signs to give a message to public to stay home and only essential travels. Next, please. So next, I would share like what impact on British Columbia highways, how much traffic volume change. So this is like the first slide is in the Metro Vancouver. So all the bridge crossing, you can see like the blue line is 2019 traffic volume, and then red show 2020 traffic volume. So the fourth week of March, you can see 47% drop from 2019. It's when like after we declared the state of emergency. And you can see like when we reopened up on phase 2 in May, the volume start picking up, and then you can see it gradually picked up. And when we started like phase 3, so volume picked more up, but then it's summertime, it remains consistent. And then we can see the still volume last week of October is 8% drop from 2019. Next, please. So this one is the traffic volume on Highway 1. That Highway 1 connect Lower Mainland with the rest of BC and rest of Canada. So you can see like the traffic volume was 37% dropped during first week of April, and then in some time it start increased, and but now we still see like 4% increase from 2019 volume. Next, please. So this is like we have like over here in Lower Mainland 4 major water crossing. So the traffic volume, you can see like when March 21st border is closed and restricted only to essential travel. So we can see like it's the traffic volume dropped 69% and 76%, and still we have 73%. This is until only May, but we still see like around 73 or 75% drop because border is still restricted to essential travel. So the rest is 25 or 30% traffic volume is only the truck traffic. Next. So this graph presents like a volume between BC and Alberta border. You can see like the volume dropped first week of April 37%, and in summertime still it was low, and start picked up in second week of September, and then it again start dropping on like fourth week of October. So this traffic volume is in like for interior, like we can see the first week of April it was dropped 38% and gradually increased in like during summertime. So like when more driver go out for interior like northern region during summertime, and then we can still see the traffic volume is a bit higher over there in the northern region, higher than 2019. So we noticed that like the average speed for throughout the BC was increased, but for on highway 185% speed was increased 3% in April, and still we are seeing the speed is higher than 2019. Next, please. So also we see the trends for cyclists, like you can see these graphs, like work week ridership decreased by approximately 27% for 2 weeks after the state of emergency. This could be additional due to like a weather, like in last 2 weeks of March, weather was not it was rainy, and in April work weeks saw a large increase in ridership, where could be same like due to weather, like or either like we have seen more recreational ridership for cyclists. They start riding, yeah. So we could not see the clear trends. Next, please. So for methodology for traffic volume data collected from all regions of BC, ground detector loop used to collect data, traffic radar also used, and then we were weekly reports created to provide direct comparison of 2019, as you see in previous graphs. And there was a key stakeholder, internal BC government. We were sending up weekly traffic update to our objective and to minister, and also like BC Center for Controlled Disease. They were using our data to during the modeling, and then seeing how like align these one with the number of cases in BC. And TransLink and BC Transit, they were also interested in our data to look at how the trend, and also Insurance Corporation of BC, they were our stakeholder to look at, and all the media outlet, they were reporting like on which crossing or which region we are seeing the decrease in traffic volume. That concludes my presentation, but in a panel discussion, we can see the lesson learned and opportunity how we can. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, so, as we've heard so far, there's been a change in our operations. There's been a change in our transportation system, right? The routes that people are using, the construction, the active transportation, the restaurants, and all those other things that we need to accommodate, as well as, change in demand fluctuations, change in travel modes. And the other theme that you see is often, data has been being pulled, driving those insights to support these decisions within the transportation management centers, but also a larger increasing role across the organization. So, as you guys have moved through this item and, spent, your waking hours over the last 8 to 9 months to manage traffic during this, unprecedented sort of time, at least in the last, 100 years, what are some key, important takeaways or lessons that you've learned from an advanced traffic management systems perspective? Oh, just make sure you unmute yourself there.
Patrick, you're on mute.
Oh, you're still on mute there, Patrick. Let's see if I can help you. Okay, well, maybe we'll go to Sameer while we're waiting for Patrick to get it.
Definitely. Just to, one of the thing as Patrick kind of leaning towards, one of the thing I could say is how the change, the traditional traffic management, having a huge monitor wall and having that situational awareness and those things. So I think those things we have to rethink, I guess, as we see, if we, let's say, if I would have to expand, I mean, it just happened that we just built our new TMC here. But then let's say if I have to build new TMC, I would be putting that new hat and say, okay, how that, remote, capability or I'm that 100%. I mean, we did actually, it's not about that, but then what is the future actually? So, think about from within our organization also, do we need to spend that kind of money also? But then how we technologically, we can say, yeah, if we need somebody, let's say additional help from staff, we can do that on demand, I guess, and those things. Whereas that was kind of always considered to be in the office and those things. So that's one thing. And of course, I'll let Patrick add more stuff.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, what I would say, what I learned is, I think the way of working from home, which wasn't a part of the culture for public division. I think this is the biggest change that we need to, look at because we were lucky because the city of Montreal actually would just switch to the suite, Google Suite, basic tools we use like Word and Office. So just having that ready helped a lot to be able to have everyone work from their home without having to move the whole equipment. So I think the feature and the focus needs to be done on how more and more we're going to be working from outside of the central. I think that would be the biggest lesson. And more strategic wise, I think for sure you need to have the emergency plan ready, even for the pandemic, any for anything else. So if your plan is good, you can use it for any events in the future. So that's probably what I learned mostly from that experience so far.
Great, Karamjeet.
So like the traffic role and responsibility for traffic management, how we change, like we have one George Massey tunnel where we run a counterflow lane during the rush hour, and we were seeing the traffic volume was reduced like around 60%. And then for 3 months, we didn't run the counterflow lane, and also like at our transportation management center over there, like we looked at like because the traffic volume was lower and we have seen the reduction in the incident too, and we were running the COVID messaging, and then the traffic management center, the staff was very quiet during that time, but like for those 2 to 3 months, but after when it's reopened, it again start picked up, and then yeah. And then also what we look like because the traffic volume was lower, and then we gave some extra window for our contractor for construction, and like they extended their lane closure hour, and then so they can complete their work. Also we have like as Sameer mentioned that like they put the push button, like we had on some location the old push buttons where you can only push with the finger and then not with other body parts, and then we are in process of replacing, or we already replaced some with the new push buttons.
Gotcha. And a question from the attendees. Has anyone tracked public inquiries, requests, or complaints between 2019 and 2020? Have the frequency changed of those sort of requests, or the nature of those, or questions that people are asking compared to what they were maybe dealing with and bringing to you in the past?
I can tell you, I mean, definitely it went down, I would say. It's just because they are not out on the road, and because most of our inquiries come from more from traffic point of view. Let's say traffic signal having not enough timing. Think about that's our top one, I guess. You know, it's competing priorities, right? Like it's just not enough time, I guess. You know. So those kind of definitely went down. I don't know how much percent I can get that number, but definitely that's a pretty one of the thing we get always. The rest one also went down for sure, because let's say the potholes, right? People are not to drive, then definitely they're not gonna report those kind of thing. But definitely there is a substantial drop, I would say. You can see some of the graphs. I mean, if those are free flow, right? So literally that can be like it's a nightmare for the traffic engineer. That's kind of if that happens, I mean, you don't have a job, I guess. I'm just saying, you know, like that, those are the kind of thing. But that's great actually. From overall, you could see the impact and you know, reduction in volume, what it can do to your roads, I guess, from occupancy and overall speeds and those things. Yeah.
Yeah, normally, you know, I found that the number of incidents reported are similar to the amount of traffic that's out there. So you see that drop. But Patrick, Karamjeet, any sort of new sort of changes or requests that popped up because of COVID and this experience?
Well, for the City of Montreal, the request sort of changed because probably everyone, the traffic reduced it a lot. So, but there will be an increase more for the pedestrian and cyclist issues we had to address for. So I would say there more been a change. The city also adopted call it the Vision Zero, which is zero cities in this through the city. So I would say this year the statistic will be good for us because there is a big decrease of vehicle, but we still now need to use that opportunity actually to secure more safety in the streets, because now at this moment there's a lot more pedestrians, so a lot more vulnerable people going on the streets. So when the vehicle will start going back, we need to be careful about this. So that's one of the biggest concerns we have right now and requests from the citizens.
Yeah. And Karamjeet, I think you showed that more people are requesting your information than ever before. So what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, like even for like a public, like we receive less complaints regarding like signal timing or any traffic operation related, but we were getting more requests from media regarding traffic volume too. They were more interested how many like on each long weekend drivers from lower mainland to drive to the interior, or like from drive from BC to Alberta or Alberta to BC or to border crossing. Yeah.
Cool. Another question that came from the audience there was, from a TMC perspective, are operators assisting with providing additional service related to COVID, such as monitoring traffic around healthcare facilities and other items? Have those things, you know, crossed your lens?
For sure, like I said in the presentation, since we also part of the emergency team, it was part of our extra work to do. But I think, yeah, there were a lot of more work to do on regards of reacting to that situation more than just the mobility. So yes, there was an increase on that side. But the team was ready, and they were very good for that.
Anyone else?
Not much from, I mean, I remember there were a few requests. There were a huge lineup where there was a tasting center, you know, and then, yeah, we had to look at some, you know, signal adjustment and those things that I vaguely remember. But beyond that, I think there was enough capacity from Calgary point of view. Again, it's maybe different for other cities, but I think it kind of created a lot of capacity. I was on the road, I guess, which kind of, you know, kind of absorbed, I would say, yeah.
Okay. And Karamjeet, any sort of new things, new requests that are coming in due to COVID?
No, not from any emergency services. Yeah.
Okay. So, you know, feel free to send in more questions that you may have, but one of the key sort of questions that I would, love to pose to each one of you while we wait for maybe more questions to come in and be able to answer those and stay on a little bit longer if people so choose. As you guys are as we're moving forward into, this new reality, moving into this near future, what are some key things top of mind you're focusing on to support, your ongoing service delivery?
So I can speak over here, the biggest challenge for us was not have a real-time data. So for our contractor was extracting data from our loops and then it was delayed for a week, and then we were analyzing that data and providing a report to our executive or to media or to BC Center for Control Disease. And then we had one full-time employee was doing the data crunching and reporting and processing. So that's the biggest challenge. And then what we came up with, and there was gaps in data, on some sites we don't have available 2019 data for comparison, and on some, if you have a loop, broken loop or anything, you missed whole week data, then you don't, there is no comparison to report that. And so from that lesson learned, we in our ministry, now we created a internal committee that is looking after to how we can fill up these gaps, and then how we can look at to report any desktop dashboard kind, and then have that data, and then don't need to process it, automatically generate in graphs, or so we can present on real-time based data to executive or to our media or stakeholders.
Yeah, so a lot of getting that data pipeline going and data governance, management, to the insights for those decisions. Patrick and Sameer.
Okay, well, for the Montreal, I would say all the technology is always a challenge and have to be up to date and ready to. And collecting data is one big issue, which is I think even before now and in the future, we always need to get better in that side. But I think during the pandemic, it's the biggest concern we have or challenges is more about the human side. All the team members, they were working from their home, but they had also the issue with keeping safe their home family. So at the same time, so I think it's more about that human side, how we could still be operational and focus. I don't say that we're critical, because I see people in the hospital, they work a lot more harder, but you still need to keep the frontline team operational and be able to go through that situation.
For us, as I mentioned, we created this 40-40-20 split, and some technical technology adjustment or adaptation, right? It's kind of even though it stays at another 6 months to a year, we have that capacity, we can manage accordingly and those things. So during the COVID time, I would say there were no services that we did not provide, actually we were doing before. So that's one of the things we kind of focused on. We kind of listed actually what are essential things. We definitely have if we get a COVID case and we have to quarantine, so what's our strategy? So we have created these high level, what are the essential services we will provide during those situations. But the current, luckily we don't have those cases. So far good. Again, Alberta is highly, these numbers are very high right now. We got some new restriction yesterday, so yeah, it's things are changing so fast, I guess, but we are keeping eye on monitoring those things.
Thank you. So just to clarify with the three of you, are you okay with staying on a little bit longer? We've got some more questions coming in. Able to stay on for another 10 minutes or 10-15 minutes there? Okay, great, thank you. So Greg Blatz out of Winnipeg with the Transportation Management Center there said, since comparing previous requests, they've had a 50% drop in the number of requests come in from citizen concerns submitted so far. So maybe they're doing an awesome job, and that's the reason. obviously that's part of it, but you know, that is one of those items there. But Greg asks, for Patrick, when you were implementing the active and safe lanes, were there any issues with heavy right or left turn volumes across the lanes? Were turn restrictions implemented, special intersection treatments?
Well, definitely, we had to, you know, reprogram most of the traffic like they were, you know, crossing those lanes for sure. So yeah, we had to reprogram. This was part of the planning, the urban planning. So any roads or artery we use to create those safe lanes, basically we have to rethink also the whole, you know, programming of the equipments. There were definitely there were some streets that were basically just closed, so all of them also maybe what's easier to close, just restrict some street because but yeah, at the same time, since there were a lot decrease of the vehicle, and most of our traffic lights as a pedestrian cross line, so the people that just use it, so they were just getting more time just by using those technology. And some of the traffic lights basically just still work normally just by using the pedestrian cross.
Excellent. Just one quick question for you. I know that you have, you know, close to 80% coverage of your arterials with your cameras. Winnipeg has 60. You showed eco counter for some of the count data. Were you using the video cameras to count some of those movement activities as well to augment that?
It was a mix of different technology. There are some material for the pre-studies because at the same time we were deploying different detectors to be able to, you know, have live counts instead of using the cameras. But we actually manually do some count by using the camera feeds. But after the technology was in place, we were able to get live data from those traffic lanes.
So given the increased demand for this real-time traffic data that's, you know, come with COVID, and people, you know, you see it in the news, we want to know what the counts are, we want to know what's going on with COVID and have that real-time information. Likewise, you know, there's a growing demand for the mobility information that many of you are capturing. You know, as you work through those capabilities to get that in BC and have that more apparent to yourself and more readily available, is there an interest into making that more available to the general public, to senior management, so more so than what they currently have?
Well, the city adopted the open data policy maybe 6 or 7 years ago. So every data we create or collect, it has to be eventually, you know, available on that portal. There's still some work to, you know, define, because just creating that portal and having all the quantity of data available, which is a huge quantity, it's a big challenge, but it's ongoing, and probably I would say maybe now we have 30% of the city's data that's available, but more and more we're increasing by every time we update the system, we make it sure the data is available actually.
So same thing, Jonathan, in the city of Calgary, that we have open source data. The last few years we've been populating as it's growing. Data may not be readily available as you say, but then there are technologies that are making it possible right now, I would say. For sure, that can be the next thing, you know, having it available in real time or more or less real time, I would say, for public in future for sure. Yeah. But yeah, we are going towards it for sure.
And Karamjeet? Oh, just muted.
Yeah, same. We have a traffic data program website, and then we post all the traffic data throughout our provincial highways on that website. And but that data we quarterly update that website, so it's like maybe 3 months gap, and you can't see like real-time data. But yeah, we are looking like if in the future new technology or what outcome from that working group, and then definitely we will put that real-time data for public and our stakeholder.
Okay. So, you know, with this COVID situation going on, have you seen, you know, has this resulted in closer coordination and collaboration with surrounding cities and municipalities? Is this something that you're doing kind of closed off, or is this kind of a conversation that we're having right now, not something that you commonly have?
Go ahead, Patrick.
Patrick, yeah.
Oh, well, I'm not sure about how is the future of the COVID. I'm just maybe misunderstood the question.
Just,
Please
you know,
repeat.
with COVID, is this resulting in closer coordination and collaboration with other cities and municipalities?
Oh, well, yeah, for sure. But in every emergency, I think every time there's a big emergency, we're getting closer to each other. That's it's just a part of the every time we improve our way of talking together, the more improve the tools to get together. I think of it since it's a very long-term situation. I guess that situation will increase in different sphere of the collaboration process. So I would say a lot of city around are well, you know, the city itself is working by itself, but since we have also the I would say the security, the health security commission that also sort of regroup everyone together in the emergency. This also is, I think, helps a lot, you know, to link everyone together. But at the same time, as an operation perspective, we also working a lot to link better since we're talking about virtualizing our management center and everything. Those situations helps a lot to increase the interest on the other agency or stakeholder to be able to connect and share the information. For example, there's two agencies in this moment that are actually we're working an agreement to make sure they have a better collaboration working together. So I would say the emergency helped to create those links, will make it them more solid.
Okay, Sameer, Karamjeet.
So for the Calgary, as I mentioned, like a little bit different. I mean, like we don't have a lot of municipality next to our, in our neighboring area and those things, but we do have a lot of collaboration with Alberta Transportation. We run our TMC as a RTMC and those things. But the biggest thing I would say is not just outside, but also internally. I would say that is the biggest thing. As you work with the cities, like you can see a lot of different groups or departments, but I could see a lot of departments working together, as a Patrick mentioned, of the data sharing and those things. I guess those things are happening more often, that's with the COVID and response point of view and those things. So yeah, there is I would say that's kind of the changes I could see it current going on, I would say.
All right, Karamjeet, anything to add there?
Yeah, like for ministry, like most like in Metro Vancouver, all the municipalities, we were sharing data with if any municipality was requesting data, we were sending to them, and then we need data close to our highway and we requested from municipality, they share data, but the major the TransLink and then they have like a couple bridge crossing, and then they were sharing data with us and we were sharing with them. And yeah, so it was we had very good relationship with the municipalities and then with the TransLink regarding to share data with each other.
Well, yeah, there's still some questions coming in here, but due to time, I just wanted to ask one final question. So, as a community, it's made up of, people within the public item, both provincially, municipalities. You have consultants and advisory, you've got vendors and distributors. This all makes up that larger ITS sort of community. From that perspective, as a community, how best do we support you during this time in the services that you're delivering? Is there anything there that comes to mind?
Well, I would say one.
Go ahead.
With this situation, thank you, Sameer. I would say, guys, think connected, think shared, think and start our solution. By doing that, we'll be able to connect each other, because now we're going to a numeric era now. So we need to be able to connect with different systems and tools and everything. Everything needs to be connected.
So same thing, what Patrick said, like, learn from each other, I guess, as our systems are different, of course, but some of these things are so challenging right now. So definitely, who knows what is our next, in our future, but let's I think ITS Canada is being, these webinars and panel discussion, those are great to understand some of the action or projects or things that we're doing to, mitigate those things. But yeah, no, that's what I would say. Yeah.
Right. And Karamjeet.
Yeah, we same as I said, there was a data gap, and then we have a working committee, and then we are looking for different technology and see how we can collect the real-time traffic data, and so that's, and then also for ITS operation, we have same funding as last year, and then in this year, and then so we would have another future a pilot project for ITS related, so it would remain same. Yeah,
Sounds good. So kind of the key theme is obviously we're all in this together, but there's, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go better, go better. And yet, we all are dealing with the same thing, regardless of how big our these jurisdictions may be. And so that creates an opportunity to have that synergy and work together. So, on behalf of ITS Canada and the Advanced Traffic Management System Technical Committee, along with Sameer, thank you for joining us. Thank you very much for, spending this time and creating these presentations to illustrate what's been going on. We wish you all the best as you move forward and serve the various citizens that you're, responsible for providing that transportation perspective. For everyone else still on the call, there's some upcoming events here. One of those items beyond data is just the skills and the capabilities needed to opportunities. So there's a roundtable on that, from the Ontario Centre of Excellence kind of brought in. I had a chance to talk to Mona and Kat, and it's a great group of people doing some really important things. And as well, we have our bi-monthly meeting coming up December 10th. Feel free to message Yannicka if you haven't participated before and would like to. And otherwise, check out the website. You can find the details there too. So thank you very much to our presenters once again. And thank you all for joining us, and wish you all the best. And take care and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.